Hello YouTube! Today, let's talk about horses in Philadelphia. Well, back in the day, Philadelphia city streets used to have horses everywhere. Nowadays, they're a pretty rare sight. Oh, now that is probably why. In colonial times, the city streets would have been covered in horse manure. It's a very difficult thing to clean up. It takes a lot of time, and when it's all over the streets, it was more or less impossible to avoid stepping in it. Now, with all the manure covering the streets, your shoes would get very dirty, and so you'll notice that many of the railings in Old City have these foot scrapers where you can just put your shoe in and scrape the manure off your shoe like that. Here's a classic foot scraper, or shoe scraper I should say. Like that. Very plain, gets the job done. Look at this boot scraper. This one is beautiful. Now, I don't think that's a boot scraper, but maybe for someone's tiny boot. Of course, horses need water, so throughout the city there were public water fountains, like this one, which has been turned into a flower garden, where you could water your horse. And this has a nice engraving that says, "A merciful man is merciful to his beast." And around the back is a water fountain for humans. Edward Wetherell, 1821 to 1908. Another thing is down at the bottom here, you could wash your shoes because your shoes and your boots would have been very dirty. As far as I am aware, this is the last of these multi-purpose water fountains for horses in Philadelphia. So here's another fountain where horses would have been given water. The horses could have come up to this fountain and taken a drink. And lo and behold, it's still working. So that's pretty neat. On the urn here it says, "Drink, gentle friends," which I believe is a reference to horses. And then down here it says, "In memory of," and I can't read it, Arnie L. Lowry, maybe? 1918? Someone named Lowry, 1918. Yeah, it's fresh water. So the horses would have come right up to this and drank right out of it. Beautiful. And then of course around the back, here's a little fountain for people. So I guess I was wrong about saying that the other fountain was the only one left. This is another one. And it's, honestly, this one I like even more because it's still working. Horses also needed stables and a place to stay. And they needed, so this building was the stables for the first hospital of Philadelphia, the Penn Hospital. The horses would have pulled the carriages in through that. Horses would have pulled carriages into the hospital through that entryway, and then they would have been put into these stables for care when they were not employed by the hospital. You can see the stables had 3 entries for the horses to come in, and there were rooms up above where presumably hay and other supplies could have been loaded. You can see that arm coming out of that window bay where the workers would have used to, they would have hooked a rope through it and to pull up hay into that window entry. I also noticed there's something up on the top of the building that looks with a weather vane on top. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe if someone knows the purpose of that part of the building, you could leave an explanation in the comments, but I'm not sure. So today the doors do not open, as far as I know. They are painted shut. So there's no actual, functionality here. There's the keyhole, and the hinges you can see are painted shut as well. I think that's true of every single one of these doors. So these are now just relics of a bygone age when horses were ubiquitous in the city. It's a beautiful old building, and I'm glad that it has been kept and maintained. And it also has this fun little loading door that goes down into the basement. And sometimes this entrance is open, and you can walk through and see the other side of this building. When you're in Old City, Philadelphia, you may notice that some entrances are a bit wider than they needed to be. And that's not because of cars driving through. That's because this used to be where carriages went into the building. Here is another building that I'm pretty sure was a stable back in the day. You can see the wider opening for the carriage to go through, and the arm up there to haul hay up into the loft. So this is a beautiful old building that has now been converted into someone's house. But back in the day, I'm pretty sure this would have been a stable. Also, throughout the city, there were posts where you could tie your horse. When you would dismount, you could tie your horse to a post just like this so it wouldn't walk away. Nowadays, these posts are usually here to act as a buffer between cars parked on the street and the sidewalk, but back in the day, they would have been where you tie your horse up. Here's another post. This one, the horse got turned around. Now, a very important piece of infrastructure related to horses that you will see in Old City are these pieces of rock. Can you guess what these stoops were for? These steps? Here's another one. So while you're thinking about those stones, check out this little mail slot. Isn't that fun? Here's another one. that give you a hint? Here's the Powell House, where George Washington and Lafayette were frequent visitors. And my favorite of these stepstones is right down outside of the Powell House. It's definitely not for holding pizza boxes. So if you haven't guessed it already, these steps are for mounting your horse. So you would pull your horse up alongside, you'd stand up on this step and then climb up onto your horse. Or dismount. I wonder if George Washington used this foot scraper. It's fun to think about, right? This building were stables for horses back in the day. I'm not exactly sure how long ago these stables were in use, but the building is still here. It doesn't quite look colonial to me, so I'm guessing it was used in the 1800s. Now, these stables were quite large. You can see that there were 5 entrances, and these stables took care of horses in the center of the old part of Philadelphia. My favorite thing about this building is that you can see these old portal windows. I'm guessing these portal windows brought light in to the horses when they were in their stables. Now, this gateway would have been wide enough, you can see, for a horse-drawn cart to go through, and then all the way through the cemetery to the other side of the other street. Okay, so that does it for our tour of horse infrastructure in Philadelphia. You know, when I was a kid growing up, there were horse-drawn carriage tours in Old City that you could do. And unfortunately, I don't think I think the stables for those horses shut down during the pandemic. So you can't really do carriage-drawn tours anymore around Old City, I don't think. Maybe they'll bring them back, but I think there was some controversy with the treatment of the horses in those stables. I'm not entirely sure what the story is, but it was very nice. Now, sometimes you see horses from, police horses, for sure. And then also you'll see the West Philadelphia horse riders, who are, they maintain one of the last remaining stables in the city. So if you're interested in horses in Philadelphia, I would point you in the direction of the West Philadelphia horsemen. There's a nice documentary about them. They're very cool. So that's about it for horses in the city as far as I know. If you know anything more about horses or where you can see them, let us know in the comments. Otherwise, thank you for coming along on this video, and my name is Sean. This is my channel, It's All Good. I'm doing memberships, so please like, subscribe, join the membership, and I'll be starting an email list soon, so send me an email, which is in the description. And there are many other things coming later at the end of this month, so stay tuned for more. All right, thanks, bye.